Welcome to the Covert Narcissism podcast. I'm your host, Renee Swanson. I am not a therapist, and you are not a victim. I help people to heal from covert narcissistic abuse. I offer both group and individual healing programs. You can find that and other resources at my website at covertnarcissism.com. I want to tell you a little secret today. Trauma causes post-traumatic stress disorder. Like, literally, that is what the words mean. Post-traumatic, which means after trauma, stress. So it is stress that is caused or that you experience after the trauma. So I definitely want everybody here to understand that adrenaline is a killer. Literally, it can kill someone. Okay, I had a cousin who died from a heart attack because of an adrenaline overload after he witnessed a massive trauma involving his young daughter. This was post-traumatic stress, and it was deadly. Too much adrenaline in your system is extremely dangerous. So post-traumatic stress is a problem. Now, let me ask you, what is stress? According to the World Health Organization, stress can be defined as a state of worry or mental tension caused by a difficult situation. That's it. That's a very simple definition of stress. It is a difficult situation, all right? If you're living with a covert narcissist, there is no one here that would argue with you. This is a difficult situation. It is a state of worry or mental tension. Do you feel mental tension working, handling a covert narcissist in your world? Absolutely. So is this a stressful situation? Yes. Stress makes it hard for us to relax, and it comes with this range of emotions. These emotions include anxiety and irritability. You might be told by the covert narcissist that you're being so irritable. Well, guess what caused it? The stress that you're dealing with and the post-traumatic stress of what you're dealing with. When stressed, you may find it difficult to concentrate. And then you get told by the covert narcissist that, you can't ever remember anything. Your memory is really bad. You really need to learn to pay more attention. Well, let's go back and look at why the concentration isn't working for you. Because a stress overload, post-traumatic stress, causes you to be unable to concentrate. It interferes with the brain's normal functioning. Now, how do we diagnose stress? Well, you can't measure it by tests. There's no MRI, X-ray, a CAT scan, an ultrasound, blood work. You can't measure stress by a test. You can't determine where it's coming from by a medical, test. Only the person who's experiencing it can tell you if it's present or not. That's you. Only the person experiencing it can determine how bad it really is. Again, that's you. And when you are living this every day, to some degree or another, in the moment, you cannot tell how bad it really is. Because stress and trauma interfere with your brain's normal functioning. We've been talking about that now for a couple of weeks. I've already addressed how trauma hijacks the brain. It knocks the thinking part of your brain offline. So now you have difficulty concentrating, focusing, remembering, even seeing things clearly. So how in the world are you supposed to be able to tell how bad things really are? I had someone say to me just here recently, a day that was not awful was experienced like it was a good day. She felt like just because the day was not terrible, oh man, we had a good day today. That was her bar for judging if it's a good day. Now think about someone who's not living with a covert narcissist. If they had just experienced the same day, that not awful day, would they call it a good day? They would probably call it their bad day. Let's just put that into perspective here a little bit. Now, what does stress affect the most inside of you? Your autonomic nervous system. That's what it affects. This is the part of your nervous system that controls the parts of your body that you don't think about. Okay, digesting food, circulating blood through your body with your heart. These are the parts that you don't think about, that you don't control consciously. That's your autonomic nervous system. This is the part that stress affects the most. This includes your fight or flight response. It includes the chemical balance that's inside of you. It includes your ability to rest and recover, to restabilize after an adrenaline drop. I've talked about the fight or flight response in a few previous episodes, and so I'm not going to go into detail here. I just want to do a really quick refresher. With normal traumatic experiences, a snake, a close call in a car accident, someone following you, the warning signals go off and your body floods with adrenaline and cortisol. You experience this fight or flight mode. Your heart starts pumping like crazy. Your digestive system shuts down. You're breathing faster. Blood is rushing to your larger muscles. Everything tenses up. This is a primitive mode. They call it the reptilian brain. It's a survival mode. And after the threat has dissipated, you go into a restorative mode. Normal breathing returns. The digestive system gets back online. And the prefrontal cortex part of your brain, the thinking part of your brain, reactivates. But this does not happen when dealing with a covert narcissist within your home. You see, the threat is within your home. This is supposed to be your safe person. This is supposed to be when you're able to relax and you're able to just be yourself. This is someone you're living with, you're sleeping with, you're eating with, you're vacationing with, you're doing life with. So your restorative mode doesn't return. Your system is not able to truly relax and you remain trapped in this fight or flight mode. This is PTSD. The traumas that are happening create the stress, and then you have post-traumatic stress, which is the stress after the trauma, and that's where you are not ever allowed to just relax and return to a restorative mode. Let's use a number scale to understand this. If my baseline relax mode is 0 on a number scale, and then from my partner, who I'm, in love with, I've devoted my life with, I believe that he loves me, and I now have an unexpected, drastic, angry outburst, and one that just doesn't match the current situation and seems to come out of nowhere. Well, my response mode shoots to a 10, okay? This is an immediate emotional threat. What happened here? All right, if that were to then get resolved and the air cleared, like we've talked about in the past on this podcast, forgiveness is said and given and changes are made and I can trust it, then my restorative mode can return back down to that baseline. But when things don't get resolved, they just sort of kind of calm back down and disappear to Never Never Land. You return to a relaxed mode, but maybe not quite down to a 0. You're like, okay, I don't know where that came from, but maybe I need to watch out for that. So maybe now instead of going down to 0, you're at like a half a point. But then you're going along and everything seems okay, and wham, it happens again. Well, now your baseline is like at a 1. You can't get back down to that restorative mode. And this goes on, and your baseline just gets higher and higher and higher until you are stuck at a high level. Maybe you're at an 8 or a 9, and that's your normal now. You struggle to get back to and perhaps never succeed in returning to the restorative mode. You are fully stuck in fight or flight. People ask me often, does your brain get damaged because of all of this? Does covert narcissism cause brain damage? And if you do research online, you will find a lot of people that say yes to that. Okay, and I will say that the brain, it gets damaged, but I will say that it's not permanent. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Your brain is extremely adaptive. It's malleable. It adapts as it takes in new information, and it adjusts and continues in a manner that it believes will keep you safe. Its inability, or more like a refusal to relax, is its attempt to keep you safe from the perceived threats. This is your brain modifying, evolving, if you will, taking in new information and going, okay, this is not a safe situation, and adapting to the situation. Are these effects in your brain reversible? Yes. Like I said, the brain is extremely adaptive. And now that you are aware of this issue, it is time to reverse the process. Let's use a different stressful situation to kind of describe this. If you're driving your car on a rainy night and you hydroplane, You're driving along, you're at your baseline. Maybe your baseline while driving is, you got to have a little bit of a stress level. Maybe it's a 2 because that kind of keeps you on alert while you're driving, and that's fine. But now you hydroplane, unexpected out of nowhere. Well, your stress response shoots up to that 10. And then, you're trying to kind of bring this back down. You get this resolved. Everything's okay. But now your baseline driving while it's on a rainy, wet night, you're not going to be at a 2 anymore. That's going to jump up some. All right. Weeks or months and even years later, while you're driving on a rainy night, you might find yourself more tense and more anxious. This is the effect of that post-traumatic stress that I'm talking about. The next time that you are out driving, instead of being at your normal 2, you find yourself maybe at a 6. Again, because, you experienced this stressful situation and now you are, unable to really, truly relax. And so while you're experiencing this higher baseline, you're also going to find yourself experiencing a higher level of reactiveness. And your driving will become more and more stressful. And you're going to find it difficult to find your way back down to that 3. However, if you start to acknowledge this, if you begin to recognize that driving, those times when driving is safe and uneventful, don't go into autopilot, acknowledge it. When you have a drive to the grocery store where everything is fine, acknowledge it. Because now you can begin to lower that stress meter. It's going to take some time and some conscious effort, but it can be done. You have to force yourself to stay present in your current driving conditions and recognize that, hey, you know what? This is okay, and I can bring my stress meter back down. Basically, you are taking the power away from the PTSD responses. Over time, you're going to work your way back down to a normal and comfortable state of stress, arousal. Like I said, you got to have a little bit while driving. We'll apply this to the relationship that you've had with a covert narcissist. Normal daily life in your home. Again, some stress is going to be there. So maybe it's a 2 in your normal activities throughout your day. And like I described earlier, your stress meter has been unable to restabilize for quite some time. And you're living up here at an 8, 9, or even a 10. Now, once you are out of the relationship, many will still struggle to relax. And this is why. Because you're trying to get your baseline back down. They wonder, will I ever be able to again? And the answer is yes. But I have to acknowledge within myself every time that I have a significant interaction with someone else that goes well. Don't take it for granted. Don't overlook it. Don't get into autopilot. Acknowledge it. You acknowledge the trauma. How about acknowledging the peaceful interactions? Start to recognize them. Start to give them some weight in your head and in your mental space. Acknowledge every time you have a disagreement with somebody that resolves. One that resolves in a healthy way like we never could get with the covert narcissist. Also, surround yourself with people who are capable of resolving issues. People who are capable of compromising. People who are capable of establishing a sense of trust. As you do, allow your stress meter to come back down. Every day, ask yourself, where is my stress meter today? What has happened that has raised it? Acknowledge that. But what also has happened that has brought it down? Acknowledge that. This puts you back in control of your own stress meter rather than letting it be only the autonomic nervous system. That's the parts of your body that you don't think about that are functioning. You can, okay, let's take example, your breathing. Your breathing is an autonomic nervous system. Okay, it's part of that. You don't pay attention to your breathing most of the time. But can you? Yes. You can control your breathing. I could sit right here and I could control my breathing for 5 minutes. I might have a hard time staying focused long enough to do it because it takes effort. The same thing is true with your fight or flight response, with your stress meter. That's an autonomic nervous system. It's a piece of that nervous system. But you can start to take some control of it. You can start to acknowledge it and go, no, I don't need a fight or flight response here. I can settle that down. And I'm going to give you some skills and tools that you can use to do this. Okay, one of my absolute favorite is deep breathing exercises. It's just plain and simple, and there's no way to do this wrong, okay? People go, well, how do I do it? You know what? You can do it in lots of different ways. You start Googling on the internet, you'll find several options. Find the ones that resonate with you. There's deep breathing exercises. There's one that's 4-7-8 is what it's called. You inhale for 4 seconds, you hold it for 7 seconds, and then you exhale for 8 seconds. Okay, that's fine. But 4-7-8, you could call it 3-5-6. I don't care what you use. What works for you is what matters. This is one of the best tools that I have found to just get back in charge of my own fight or flight response. Now, in order to do this, you have to know what your own stress signs are. What is it in you that helps you to acknowledge that your fight or flight just kicked in? For some people, it might be, they get lightheaded, or they get dizzy, or they get, unable to focus, maybe hives, maybe an inability to sleep, maybe just a lack of energy, or clenching your teeth, or headaches. Whatever your stress signs are, take a minute and write them down. Acknowledge what are the signs in you that you are having a fight or flight response. Because if you don't know you are, you can't control it. You can't start to take charge over it so that you can decide if you're safe or not, and not let this just be an automatic response inside of you. The trauma you've been through with a covert narcissist is going to cause your radar to be too high. Again, we've talked about that in previous episodes. This is now how you get back in charge of it. I'm going to compare this to somebody who's got high blood pressure. So I have a family member who's got high blood pressure. She's on medication for this. She has made some life changes in her diet and in her exercise so that she can start to control her high blood pressure. Now, that's an autonomic nervous system, your blood pressure is. She can't control it, but she can start to make some changes that puts her more in control. Now, she's had a few scares where her pressure kind of jumped off the charts. One in particular, sent her to the hospital. But her doctor put a solid plan in place. He said, if this happens again, that you need to, and gave her the steps to do, monitor your blood pressure every 30 minutes. So she had to buy a monitor for at home, okay? If it jumps above a certain number, he gave her an emergency dose of medication that she could take right then, and then she is to go to the hospital. All right, that's a plan. That's a plan for when this happens. You need a plan. So when you notice that your fight or flight's kicking in, your adrenaline overload is coming. And remember, adrenaline is a killer. When your adrenaline overload is coming, you've got to take charge. Deep breathing exercises, that is an immediate, this is what I can do right now. It is non-invasive to the world around you. You can do this whether you're in a crowd or sitting alone. You can do it driving down the car. You can do it laying in your bed. Okay, anywhere. But a deep breathing exercises. This is a good immediate action. Another immediate action is an aerobic exercise. Okay, go running, especially if you can get outside in nature. Go in the bathroom and do jumping jacks. If that's the only privacy you can get to do this, do 30 seconds of jumping jacks. Something to settle your system back down. Another really easy one to do, whether you're in a crowd or alone, is a sensory check-in. Ask yourself, what do I hear? Close your eyes and listen. What do I hear around me? Do you hear a bird? Do you hear an airplane? Do you hear an air conditioning vent? What is it you hear? Open your eyes, look around you. What is it you see? Consciously see what is sitting in front of you. Okay, the table here, the chair. What is it that's right here around you? What do you feel? You feel your clothes on your body. You feel the feel of the table. What's it feel like? What do you smell? What do you taste? A sensory check-in is another really good way to stop that adrenaline overload, to stop it in its path so that you can take charge of your PTSD. One more thing that I want to say here. It is good to have emergency plans in place for those moments of an adrenaline rush, like my family member in case her blood pressure spikes. But it is also good to have a regular maintenance plan, just like she has a regular maintenance plan for her blood pressure. This is a regular maintenance plan for relaxation and stress reduction. Put that maintenance plan into place. This is things like yoga, mindfulness exercises, grounding techniques, writing, and journaling. All of this will help you to get back in charge of your stress meter. Take that time right now and put a maintenance plan in place for you, as well as an emergency plan. I wish you so much peace on your journey of healing. You have been listening to the Covert Narcissism podcast. If you are struggling with covert narcissism in your life, I help people to heal from covert narcissistic abuse. If you are struggling with the isolation, the self-doubt, and the obsessive thinking, then this is the program for you. I offer both group and individual options. This is live, personalized coaching that is specific to covert narcissism. Reach out to me anytime. You can find me at my website, covertnarcissism.com. I'm not a therapist and you are not a victim. I am a coach and you are a survivor. I wish you so much peace on your journey of healing.